everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today I've got a Sig Sauer P238 chambered in 380 ACP. This is a little 380 that you saw kind of hiding in the corner of the videos when we were looking at our MK 1919. This is a single action only gun. Its real focus is concealed carry, though it is actually quite pleasant to shoot at the range. So let me pick it up and show you a few things about it. It has a 6-round magazine, and they are steel. There is a 7-round extended magazine available, but we found that getting a hold of magazines for these is a little difficult. They're available, but they're kind of hard to find in stock. So if you're looking for a little bit more capacity and you see one of the 7-rounders, grab it while you can. The mechanics of this gun is similar to some of the service pistols, and it kind of looks like a 1911. Though internally it really doesn't share too many characteristics with a 1911. It is single action only, so you have to cock the hammer either by having cycled it or manually cocking the hammer. While I've got it out, I'll show you that it is unloaded. And it does have a thumb safety similar to a 1911 that you can operate up as safe, down as fire, and it's a fairly stiff safety. You're definitely not going to accidentally change the setting of the safety. And when you operate it, you have to do it fairly deliberately. So in a hurry, it can be a little bit easy to thumb it and not actually get it. The gun is meant to be carried either decocked, and it does not have a decocker, so you would have to cock it via pulling the trigger carefully, or cocked and locked like a 1911. When we had this at the range, we found it very easy to shoot it well. Despite the very small size, it handles recoil quite well. This is the HD model, so the whole frame and everything is stainless steel. That gives it a little bit of weight. It's about 19.5 ounces with an empty mag in it. Sig Sight does show it as 20.1 ounces, but when we weighed it with these grips, these Hug rubber overmold grips that we put on it, it comes in at 19.5. It came with these little rosewood grips, and these are exceptionally light. So I can't imagine that these are heavier than this Hug grip that we've got. So what you're looking at is something in the close to 20 ounce territory, and you'll see that it's a solid little gun, but it's fairly light. And you can see the HD stamping up here on the front of it for the heavy duty. This one comes with Sig's Sig-Lite night sights, and basically what they are is a tritium insert, so they are true night sights with a white ring around them, which makes it very easy to see them during the day. So they're truly a functional day-night sight. A lot of night sights are kind of harder to see at the day, but these aren't. From a trigger pull perspective, it's actually got a very short trigger, a little bit heavier than, let's say, a 1911. It comes in around 5 pounds, 6 ounces, somewhere in that territory. But let me show you the trigger. So again, we'll show clear. Make sure the safety is off. Here is the take-up. Very minimal take-up. Then the break. It's an extremely short trigger. Reset is effectively all the way out, but all the way isn't very far. You notice it's a relatively short trigger. So we're back on the take-up, pull the trigger. If I did do the reset and just came out, pull the trigger again, you can see how short it is. So the length of pull on the trigger is very close to either a 1911 or a single action revolver. It's a very nice trigger, it's very easy to manage, and it's a very crisp trigger. From a takedown perspective, this one takes down more like some of the other service pistols other than a 1911. You'll see there's no barrel nut at the front. What you would do is, of course, remove the magazine, determine that it's clear, and pull the slide back until, it's going to be hard to do showing you, there's a little half moon cut out here, right where my finger is. And we're going to line it up with this. There's a kind of a half moon protrusion. And then on the other side, this little protrusion here, you just push out with a plastic pick or something like that. I'm going to pull it back, I'm going to line it up, I'm going to see if I can do it where you can see it on the camera. So I'm going to line that up, turn it over, and push it out. When I push down on it, the pin will just stick out a little bit on the other side. In this case, it actually fell out because I pushed it out. There is a retaining spring, so it's not going to come out on its own. Once you've done that, you can let it go forward and the slide just comes off. The frame is quite robust. You can see it's got a full-length rail on this side and a nearly full-length rail on this side, with the only break being, making room for that takedown pin. So you've got very robust rails. It's a well-constructed, very smooth, well-polished internals. So it's an extremely well-constructed gun, which you would expect from a Sig Sauer. You have the ejector here, and then of course you've got the hammer and the sear mechanism down below. The slide is similarly well-constructed, very smooth and deburred. Everything is smooth and or polished. We haven't done any polishing on this gun. We took this gun out of the box, cleaned it, oiled it, took it to the range, and fired it. This gun hasn't malfunctioned, it's worked flawlessly. It is a drop-safe weapon. You've got the drop safety right back in here. It's kind of hard to see because it's down inside of the rail. It's kind of hidden at the back, right in there. But it is drop safe, which is of course an important consideration for a carry gun. We'll take the guide rod, which happens to be a steel guide rod, out. It is a non-captive spring, so when you take it out, you want to make sure you have a hold of it. The spring goes in either way. There's not a direction to the spring. And it's a nice, solid, well-constructed steel guide rod. And then you've got the 2.7-inch ferrule. Nice polished feed ramp. And it is a lug-style barrel, so the takedown pin goes through this lug and retains it as part of the tilt mechanism. Overall, everything in here has been, when I look at it, it's well constructed and well engineered. It's a very nicely put together little gun. Putting it back together is relatively easy. Drop the barrel back in place, slide the spring on. Now one thing you do need to be careful of is the spring just ends. You see it just ends. So it's easy if you're not paying attention to pull it up through and have the spring stick through. So you want to make sure that when you're lining it up, the spring doesn't stick through here. And the other thing is there's a half moon shape on this. This half moon needs to face the barrel. So all I'm going to do is line it up, drive it in, put it down. Now I've got it turned a little bit, so I just give it a little push and line it up. Now, it's all ready to put back together. Putting it back together is as easy as putting the slide together, with one nuance. The ejector sticks up, and you actually have to push the ejector down, and it's spring loaded so it won't stay down. So as I'm sliding the slide back on, there'll be a point I have to push this down to get it to clear and then lift it back up. So I put the slide on, bring it back, just before the ejector hits, push it down, slide the slide back a little bit further, and then it'll clear. At this point, you don't want to try to pull it all the way back. You want to stop here because the barrel lug is right in here, and see if I can get the light to show through to my hand. Maybe a little difficult because everything's dark in there. Now I'm not going to be able to get it to show through in the camera. But one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure you capture the barrel lug. And if you're not careful and you pull it back, the barrel will start to go down and it won't line up. So you capture it with the end of the pin, and you may need to wiggle it a little bit. Now be careful, you have the same risk of the infamous idiot scratch as you do with a 1911. You want to make sure that this is clear of the body when you pull this back or hold on to it. And then you pull it back till the half moon lines up and drop it in place. And you're ready to go. One of the things we found with this, I mentioned it earlier, it was extremely easy to shoot this well. A lot of times these little guns like this can be ornery and difficult to get a nice tight group. We found this one very easy right from the get-go to get nice tight groupings with. It's comfortable to shoot. This grip, of course, gives you a, front finger grips give you a real good hold on the gun. But even with the rosewood grips, it was easy to hold. The biggest thing we found with the rosewood grips is that it was exceptionally narrow. The gun is about 1.1 inches thick, and the rosewood grips really don't add much to the grip thickness. These Hogue grips add you a little thickness and a little bit of a bulge at the bottom. The gun does have this little kind of a rubberized plastic back strap. It's not changeable, but it does give you a little bit of cushioning and grip on the back of it. From a size perspective, it's 5.5 inches long and 3.9 inches tall with a flush magazine or empty. And as I mentioned, 1.1 inches thick. So you've got a really small gun here. To put it in perspective, by comparison, if you're shopping for a gun in this territory, one of the other guns that might be looked at, this is, of course unloaded, is this Glock 42. And from a size perspective, you'll see that it's really roughly the same size when you put it beaver tail to beaver tail. Let's get this set up properly where you can see it. If I put it beaver tail to beaver tail, it's maybe a quarter to possibly a half inch shorter than the Glock in body length, and it's just slightly shorter, if I put a magazine in it, it's just slightly shorter in height. So it is smaller than the Glock, but not drastically, even though when you compare the trigger guards, the trigger guard kind of makes it look a lot smaller. And from a thickness perspective, they're roughly the same thickness. So this is in trend with some of the other common guns that are out there in the .380 pocket territory. Now the Glock weighs about 14 ounces with a magazine in it, and this one weighs just under 20 because of the stainless steel frame versus polymer. So overall, it makes a very, very good little concealed carry gun that's also very pleasant to shoot at the range. And of course with the hook grip, it'd be a little bit thicker than the Glock. So if you're looking for something for pocket carry, concealed carry, and you're not necessarily into the strikers, you like the single action, you like the little bit heavier frame, then this would be an excellent little choice for you. So hang on for some more range footage. If you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share. Have a great day. Thank you.